Wednesday, brought to you by Elevate Women's Health Center in Port Perry and chiropractor Shawna Dingman, Port Perry's only chiropractic and functional health care center focused on women, children, and babies. Don't let health concerns hold you back. Dr. Shawna Dingman, chiropractor and functional health care practitioner since 2000. Yes, we are elevating and manipulating. It is Shawna Dingman that joins us. Scott Campsall there also on the line. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
Well, it is great to have you on. And you want to take a look at some research or just a paper that was issued by the University of Chicago, their Department of Medicine. It was tying together chiropractic adjustment and lower blood pressure.
Yeah, it's this great webpage they have. That's what caught my eye originally. And it says, the headline says, special chiropractic adjustment lowers blood pressure among hypertensive patients with a misaligned C1 vertebra, which essentially means that there is this chiropractic adjustment that was done to people at the very top of their spines, and they found that it lowered their blood pressure, and then it actually cites the paper. So the paper is found in the Journal of Human Hypertension.
So
there was such a journal.
Is the thought then that it may be a physical issue to start off with which then increases the anxiety and then again raises the blood pressure?
Yeah. So one of the things that they do say is that this clearly deserves further study. And they're actually, if you Google chiropractic adjustments and hypertension or chiropractic adjustments and blood pressure, there are lots and lots of studies that now come up. So they have been studying this. The idea is that there is some kind of structural change, some kind of misalignment. The chiropractic word for it is subluxation. It's actually a word that comes from Latin that means less than light or less light, which is kind of cool because to me it kind of means you can't shine your light as brightly as you're designed to. So the chiropractic term is a subluxation. It's that misalignment that actually changes physiology and changes thought patterns. And so if there is a subluxation at the very top of the spine, which honestly, it is the most common subluxation that I see in babies post-birth. So I think it's probably the most common subluxation that human beings can have. And if it's there, it can predispose you to hypertension. How does that happen? Well, that area of the spine is in direct communication with the medulla, which is part of the brainstem. It is part of the brain that controls some of your basic functions, breathing, sleeping, lung function, those kinds of things. So they don't know the exact mechanism, but, as I would explain it to a patient, if you have a subluxation in that area, what it's going to do is potentially not allow the brain and the body to communicate to basically regulate some of those functions. And one of the results can potentially be a predisposition to high blood pressure.
Okay, so it's not a situation where, you know what, I'm not feeling great, and then that kind of increases your anxiety. It's something that's actually physical and a connection between A and B.
Well, there's that too. I mean, yeah, that's a great question too, because obviously we know that stress is one of the biggest factors that creates high blood pressure. And so one of the things I always tell my patients is, yes, we have these things that we can do. We can adjust you if there's some kind of misalignment or subluxation in the spine. Makes sense to me that should be the starting point. Let's correct the structural problem first and see how the body rebalances. But then there's also nutrition, movement, exercise, stress control, because even if you have no subluxations in your spine, but your stress is all get out, of course it's going to create anxiety. And one of the body's natural responses to that is to increase blood pressure. So it can be both things, because one of the other things, just as an anecdotal response, so when I'm checking patients, when they come in for their initial visit and we do their examination, there's all sorts of different kinds of testing. So blood pressure is one of the basic things that I check, because I want to see functionally, how are the subluxations in your spine affecting the basic functions of your body? So I check, how well do you breathe? So we have a spirometry reading. I check their blood pressure, so we get a blood pressure reading, so that when I recheck weeks or months later, we can go back and say, hey, you know what? You are actually breathing better. You're getting more oxygen to your brain. Your blood pressure is lowered. So we actually have data that confirms that. But one of the other things that I do there's a questionnaire, a lifestyle questionnaire that they fill out that asks them things like, how well do you sleep? What are your stress levels like? What do you rate your health on a scale of 0 to 100? How would you rate your health? And when they give me that answer, I'll ask them, okay, where's the gap there? What would get you closer to 100? And for a lot of people, they'll say it's anxiety. I have a lot of anxiety. I have a lot of stress in my life. And so that's something that it's not part of the adjustment per se, but I think in being a patient at the office, these are things that we talk about and we work on from a lifestyle perspective. It all matters.
So if I've got high levels of anxiety, could that actually affect my spine? Is that what you're sort of saying?
Yeah, absolutely. It all loops. So I always tell people that your internal state of emotion, right, how you feel emotionally is usually reflected in your physical pain, your physical health. So if somebody is a chaotic mess in their life, they've just got so much going on, they have high anxiety, just think about it from this perspective. You know how when we're in karate and you're often telling me, Shawna, lower your shoulders, right? My shoulders come right up when I'm trying to make movements. When people are stressed, their shoulders come up. That's kind of a basic, we all sort of know that when we're stressed, we get tight in our upper back and shoulder areas. So you can imagine that because the spine is right there, it will actually change the structure of the spine over time and limit movement in those areas. So yes, anxiety, stress, depression, any of those things they can potentially change the physical structure of the spine and how it functions over time. It's like a feedback loop.
What about age?
Well,
just general, we have, you get up in the morning and as you get older, certain things hurt all of a sudden because you're older and you've been on this earth and everything's been pressing down on you for how many years?
Yeah, for sure. The kind of sad part of aging is that biological aging actually starts at the age of 25. We had the funniest conversation this weekend at the cottage. My oldest, who's turning 22 this summer, he was up there with his girlfriend, and his girlfriend she's a year older than him. So she's turning 23 soon, and she was saying just how much older 23 seems than, say, 20 or 21. It's like, she said, I really feel like I'm heading into my mid-20s. And I said to her, I just kind of laughed, and I said, yeah, well, the great thing is your brain will be fully developed in about 2 years, and then you start the process of biological aging. And she just looked at me, she said, thanks, that really helps. And we kind of laughed about it, but it does take that long for the brain to fully develop and mature. So, side note.
So the girlfriend, okay, so the girl is dating your son, and the mom of her boyfriend says, "Oh, your brain's going to finally develop in a couple of years." That's a good conversation.
Well, it's certainly an interesting conversation, but those are the kinds of conversations that we have in the Dingman house and up at the porch on the cottage. It's just one of so many kind of funny, odd conversations, but the kids are used to it and she's used to it.
And important to point out to your son that, by the way, you're a year younger.
Oh yeah, and then there's the whole gender thing,
yes.
Right? Too, the male-female thing, but biological aging does start at 25, and it is this process. I think in biology, there's no status quo. You're either growing or you're regressing, and there's not much in between, so you have to work all the time at growing. So yes, just the nature of being on the earth a certain number of years is going to create degeneration. It's going to create more challenges in the spine, in the nerve system, in your body in general than when you're young, which is why it's so important to get kids checked even when they feel good, not just their spines, right? Like, I think it's really important that as soon as a baby's born, they get their spine checked, and they continue to get their spines checked through their whole youth, because you want them growing with a healthy nerve system, just like you still continue to take them to the dentist. Even if they don't have cavities, you get their eyes checked even when they see fine, because a child's body can cover up so much, but then you hit your late 20s and early 30s and all of a sudden not so good at covering things up. So teaching our youth, teaching our children the art of managing your emotions, the choice to choose to be happy, the choice to see things from a larger perspective. And I think COVID has provided this incredible environment where we have to be teaching kids these things in order to help them get through in the most adaptable way, because if they don't, then all of these stresses do add up and they end up with all these health challenges that begin to show their nasty faces when they're in their late 20s or late 30s and into their 40s. And you're right, as we age, we are much more prone to degeneration. It doesn't necessarily mean that we have to go that way, but if you don't really up your game on all your health habits, maintaining movement, maintaining strength training, maintaining movement through coordination, making sure you're doing memory work, managing your stress, eating really well, all of those things, when you do them as a habit when you're younger, it will totally determine your health, your ability to enjoy life when you're in your 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond.
Well, maybe we could just wrap up. So if someone out there is, oh man, that resonates with me. They walk into your office and they go, Shawna, help me. Is there somewhere to start, or, what's an indication that, hey, probably a good idea just to come and visit and even to ask some questions?
Well, I would think if you have a spine, that's a good starting point for why a person should have a visit. If you've never had your spine checked, it's really important to make sure that your nerve system is functioning as well as it possibly can. But
I got to be honest with you. I'd have to think about that, over the years, even with injuries and things like that, other than, a specific injury. I don't know if my spine's ever been checked.
Well, I think that's we're raised. That's how we're raised, is that if you have a problem, then you get it checked out. But from a health standpoint, that's not really the way health works, right? You want to get to the point where you never have these problems because you're doing all these preventative things. And that's truly preventative healthcare, is catch the problems before you feel them or before they show up on a test. So then the second jumping off point would be some form of, I don't feel like myself anymore. Maybe it's pain. Maybe it's, you've just been to the doctor and you've got high blood pressure or something like that. My energy is low. It can be a number of things, but if you don't feel like yourself, if you don't feel like you used to feel, that's a great reason to come in and let's have a conversation and do some testing and figure out what is going on and how can we get you back to yourself again.
Do you find most stuff is spine related? Like if somebody comes to you and says, you know what, my leg's bugging me, or I've got a nerve problem, or I guess nerves really does isolate it. But do you find, I guess, that most medical things you can probably find something related to the spine?
Yeah, I mean, it's the first system that develops in the body. It is there and functioning before a woman even has a positive pregnancy test. So yeah, I really do think the spine tends to be the jumping off point, but most of the health challenges that we have, yes, there may be a nerve system issue, but there are so many other things that are going on as well. And that's why taking a really functional and holistic approach to this, to say, okay, so we need to adjust this part, or we need to adjust your spine to get you from here to there, but we also need to work on, let's find you some good stretches, things that you can do at home. Let's take a look at your nutrition. Let's take a look at your schedule. Why do you feel so overloaded? Those kinds of things. It's never one thing. So it's never just the spine.
Well, it's always interesting to catch up with you, and maybe an adjustment, not just physically, but also mentally, in trying to get us back on that track. I think it is very important, and I love the fact that you talk about not only are you doing adjustments, physically, but also you're talking to the patient, which everything is indeed connected, and we've got to make an appointment for Scott with you. So,
yeah. You think of the same thing I'm thinking. It's like wow. Honestly, every time we have these conversations, like originally before we started this, you automatically think chiropractors, they're going to work on your back, and you start talking to us about nutrition and lifestyle choices and stuff, and obviously there's a lot broader field than what I ever thought it could be.
Yeah, no, definitely. So if somebody is interested in talking to Shawna, how can they get a hold of you?
They can go right to the website, www.elevatewomenshealth.ca. They can call the office at 647-995-1251. They can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Elevate Women's Health. We're pretty easy to find. And then as soon as you go to the website, if you want to book an appointment, you can either call, you can email, or you can book online. We have a great online booking system.
That is awesome. Listen, it is always great catching up with you, and we will do it again sometime soon.
Thanks so much for having me. It was a great conversation.
Thank you for being had. That's my favorite line. I had to throw that one out there. That means you're really part of the whole team when you get that line thrown at you. Scott, we'll talk to you again next Wednesday.
It's sad that I recognize it when somebody tees it up to you.
You know it's coming, don't you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's all about the consistency. That's what it's about. Take care, guys.
Thanks.
You too.
Okay, bye-bye. That is Scott Campsall from Okami Kai and Shawna Dingman, Dr. Shawna Dingman from Elevate Women's Health Center. Again, her number is 647-995-1251.